All right. Right. What's up, Chris?
Not much, man. Just another day getting started. Figured I'd tap back in with you. You know, we've been doing some recordings for you, doing some edits, some back and forth stuff. So, you know,
appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely.
By the way, thank you.
Absolutely.
I know you did that out of the kindness of your heart.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
We talked about in the beginning about how like people getting started always need like a little bit of help. So anytime we can pay it forward or like find a way to trade, all that kind of stuff, that goes a long way, especially with how broke fucking people are now.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I got the photos up there. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them.
I did not. I passed out early last night.
Okay.
I'm not a go out Saturday night kind of guy.
I do not blame you.
Right.
9 o'clock rolls around.
I'm 40, man.
Done.
I'm past that.
I just hit 41 last week on Friday. So
for some reason, I thought you were like 35, 34.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at gauging people's age, though.
You're 84?
Sir.
Okay, same here.
2 days before 85.
Okay.
Might edit that out. No, I'm not gonna.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I got my fucking birthday.
But I got that up there. I got some more edits up there.
Appreciate the
so
fuck
we'll
out
keep
of
collaborating.
Speaking of which, man, I find struggling with the one where we did like the
back
hook.
heel.
The back heel.
The back heel. Okay.
Because those guys that do like the Shane phase and it's like pop, pop, pop. Do you not know how to throw a proper hook or something like that? I'm like, I fucking hate those videos. And then I'm like doing one, like just watching it like, this motherfucker. Just shaking my head at myself. And plus I always got these raccoon eyes.
Okay.
So I look like I'm fucking either haven't slept or I'm about to just naturally go rob somebody.
Right.
So I'm like, see?
But I think
didn't sleep at all.
But you're being like a perfectionist, right? Because you want to come in fine-tuned, dialed in. You want a very specific image for how you want to release to the public and get it out there. So I get it. It
also falls into the things that I like and dislike about my field. About like, man, like those videos, like they're fine. Like a lot of people find value in those, but those little hooks for those things, I know what you're doing. I'm just like, I personally feel like I'm better off being filmed like teaching the class or having like a class. I feel more comfortable. That's what that really is.
And that's more the second edit. Yeah. Okay.
And then because you sent me the other one where I was talking about the Captain America shit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like something I like to say is like anything that hits me in the forearm when I'm in that position should be deflected, except for when, not always, because you get heavy kickers like Twanchai and fucking 1FC. You don't break your fucking arm. And that's not a not a block you want to sit there and gamble. Right. You'd rather check those, but you know, to each their own, each position. But if I'm running Dutch style drills, I'm gonna have you throw a kick so I can answer with hands, then I might do that. But then again, dead forearm, you're not gonna be able to run.
You're gonna take that so many times and yeah. Well, and that's kind of what you were leaning into in the video I was looking at last night, right? Like you were talking about really leaning into the thigh and taking that kick, you know, and making sure you put some muscle into it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if, you know, what you were showing is that it's going to sweep you off balance, you know, and you're going to be put down.
Yep.
Right? So
all of these little details, man. Devil's in the details.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm rocking my Karma Combat shirt where they rep the Swipe the Dare logo, but I love it. And for Nick and Pat, they just launched their website, so I'm trying to get Nick on here soon, hopefully. And then I'm rocking my Ninja Turtle socks.
Nice.
TMNT is my shit.
I love the nostalgia, you know, between both.
That's me in a nutshell.
And then some of the atmosphere. I noticed a few pieces like the Dragon Ball, the Ninja Turtles, and you know, some of the logos and stuff on the fridge is pretty dope.
Yep. My THC Hawks sticker, that's my favorite one.
Nice.
Seahawks smoking.
Oh yeah. Well, so we're talking about logos. We're talking about things. I noticed you got the UWI sign up here. Can you kind of dive into what that is for Muay Thai and the significance of it?
So in Muay Thai, it's like you say like way, it's what the crowd yells when you land like a body kick, and it's kind of branched out to like more significant strikes, but it's trying to sway the judges, or it's trying to emphasize like, ooh, that was a good shot, like ooh, you should really score that one, or like, and especially when you have like more of a hometown crowd or whatever, because otherwise the whole crowd just gets loud and yelling it. But it's also an active crowd. It's an active, cheerful crowd versus in America when you're like, boo, like a very disrespectful kind of crowd. But the significance specifically, this is Ooey. This is the cannabis brand here in Washington. So really popular. Shout out to AJ and Jess. They're the ones that I mainly know. I know a few other people that are in the Muay Thai community that process oils. I'm just not going to say their names because I don't know if they're comfortable doing that. Completely, but I believe AJ and Jess for Ooey are their marketing team. And my buddy Rick worked at the Rips. He worked at Zips for a while when Ricky, another little shout out. But he was like, yeah, you should fucking talk to them, start doing something like this where we're at. And they were like, yeah, we'll get you one of these signs and blah, blah, blah. And right after that, Ricky got a really good job. So he hasn't been able to come around, but I hung this up. I take pictures sometimes, so I should probably actually do a little bit more just to help get that out there a little bit more. But it kind of cross references to a degree,
right? Because I think of that, and that I didn't even realize that was tying into the THC business, right? Like I remember we talked about it a little bit here and there, but my mind goes to Muay Thai first,
right? Well, most people that are outside of Washington or don't know what that specifically is, that's what they're gonna hopefully think. So it's just a little good cross brand. There was another company that had that I'd reached out to and was just like, hey, let me know if you want to put anything together. That they're also a cannabis thing, and they're like, yeah, well, kind of let you know and stuff like that, which is like, I think we talked about that. It's like when we talked to Ricky, who's like, yeah, and they hooked it up on the sign right away. I went up there, like actually put in the work. They came in, they were legit. Right. No, and not that anybody else isn't, but I move right into the people that are willing to move forward, just like how you were.
Right. So here, take this as a suggestion or a good reference, right? Zach's clearly calling out collaboration, wanting to work with each other, wanting to work with people. If somebody's willing to work with you in your business and really get things going, again, to the two ventures we're referencing here, you really, let's do a collab Thursday.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you never know, bro. You never know.
That would be dope, but yeah.
But collaboration, man, like getting out there, networking, and having people that are ready to go versus, I want to do this, but let me wait, right? And by not taking action, you're not going to really get anywhere. You know,
well, I'm moving fast. Like I'm moving right past.
And you're consistent. That's the big thing. You're extremely consistent.
Well, and thank you. That I always say, like, the best compliment anybody ever gives me is my work ethic. Like, because that's not something that anybody else can really judge. Like when people are like working their ass off, that's coveted. You look at like Jordan, Mamba mentality, that kind of stuff, the work ethic. You like.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something nobody can ever take from you either, right? Because whether you're up, whether you're down, if you got that consistency, that effort, like people want to feel motivated to go take some action, right? But what happens when that motivation leaves? What are you going to do, right?
And that's usually in the down times when you're like struggling. You're like, fuck, I'm not motivated. That shit. I get pissed off when I'm in a down spot, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking stay down. Hell no. And that's when I'm like, it's midnight and I'm still working. I'm like making my flips. I'm fucking sending emails. I'm like, I'm not like, it's that full belly where I'm like, I can go relax. I'm hungry. I'm down. Right. I'm fucking working.
Well, how bad do you want the thing that you want, right? Do you want to be comfortable in the moment, or do you really want to pursue that vision and that goal that you want to implement, right? And not to say that most people don't have it, but how hungry and how much drive do you have?
Right.
Know? And in those moments, that's going to really shine through. You're either going to make it or you're not. You know, not to say that
it all sounds good when you feel good.
Exactly. Because everybody's gassing you up, and you're up here and you're flying.
Wow, this is great. I love it. And then the next day, you're like, today's the bad day. If you can't take those bad days, if you're a fair weather fucking grinder, you ain't gonna make it. Right.
Okay,
fair weather, anything.
Right. Exactly. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about like when I first met you, first started coming into class.
Yeah.
It's been about 2-3 years now at this point.
Something like that. Yeah.
So I ended up meeting you coming down to Vital Jiu-Jitsu. right? And you made things very easy to learn for me to really pick up, right? So
thank you.
And again, back to the consistency factor, back to being able to just kind of follow suit at what you're laying down, right? So I'm going to use that as a launching pad to say, what are some of the things that you're focusing on learning, whether it be financial literacy, whether it be your business, whether it be Muay Thai, whether it be social media, or even just reading a book. What are some of the things that you're growing into?
That's a great question. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the coaching thing. So something that I've talked about recently is never take a loss laying down. So we had Anthony took a loss. He was on the podcast last time, and
Gotcha.
Which, by the way, I struggle with calling it a podcast because podcast comes from the term iPod cast. I haven't had a fucking iPod in I don't know how long.
It's been some decades,
and there's so many people out there. They're like, "Wow, I didn't even know that's where that."
I didn't know from. That either.
What?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Okay, so consistency, like this is a pattern I'm starting to recognize.
Yeah.
I don't know that's so. I guess I should get away from that then, because nobody knows what the fuck that is. That's a me thing, obviously.
Gotcha.
All right, learning moment.
Yeah.
So, but back to it. Never take a loss laying down. So we're just making some adjustments from the coaching side of things, and I'm trying to really take things back to where I started or at least for the fight team, because I'm fundamentals team coach and fight team coach. Crew Jones and I tandem the fight team coach, but he's so busy, and he's the one that got me to where I was decent and promoted me and all these things. So he definitely sees the consistency, the hard work. We talk almost daily about how to put together this team, and this is not for years.
That's dope.
Yeah, since I was promoted to trainer, to coach or whatever. But something that I'm working on specifically is in one avenue, I'm really trying to up my knowledge on the clinch game, because in America, you see a lot more Western boxing and a lot more kick-centric, because they kind of pair together pretty well. A lot less clinch, and that's just something that we're adapting. We do a fair amount of clinch, just not enough to be elite, and that's something that we've kind of noticed as a team internally, not externally, but internally, that we want to do better on. Anthony's fight, like he ate some heavy knees, but there were long knees outside of the range. But making some adjustments off of a loss. Now, what I mean to say is, the week prior, we were at West Coast Fight Team, and we had 3 dominant performances, exactly how we want to see our fighters do. Fast, first, and forward. So 3 dominant performance followed by 1 not so much. And so if you take the total of the 4, it's 25%. It's not, but again, I'm not willing to just be like, oh, we're good enough. We're still in that kind of realm. Any avenue for improvement, we're fucking taking. Any way we can improve. I'm looking for any edge, any opening. So technique-wise, again, being a coach, I'm looking at better ways to teach the clinch, ways to grind. Juan's actually like adding more clinch rounds into his portion of sparring that he coaches. Things like that. So again, we're coming together, making sure we can grow as a team, implementing. And we're actually having multiple meetings coming up this week during class time about all of that. So there's a lot more coming. But nice. Let's see, you mentioned book. There's a book that I'm rereading. I was talking to my friend G at the fights, and she actually did the podcast too. She's reading right now Striking Thoughts from Bruce Lee.
Interesting.
And that's it's an adaptation, I believe, by his daughter that really breaks down like the messages and the things that he kind of brought to the table. And I have that. When we were talking, I was like, oh, have you read this book? And she's like, yes, I am actually reading it right now. So it kind of sparked me back up to read. And it's actually a quick read. It's not something that takes a ton of time to get through. You can get through it within a day or 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, but there's parts where you're going to want to sit there and like take your break and really let that sink in. Because if you just breeze right through it cover to cover, you're going to miss some of those finer points rather than letting that absorb.
Right, because you're rushing through without the intent to really absorb like a sponge.
Yeah.
Well, and this is good that you pointing out what you read, right? So one of the things we were kind of talking about earlier, like I've been doing a lot of my purchases of books at Goodwill, right? And you had a story about
I got
Goodwill
bins
stuff.
of them from Goodwill.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and the thing about that was like I would go out near Kitsap Peninsula near the bases, and because they had all of the military folks, I would get all of those mindset books, all of those leadership books, all of those philosophy books, and I would get them for like $2 to $3 a piece compared to paying $20, $30, $40, right? So I kind of built my library around that.
Cheap.
Aside from like the one-offs, like the thing I'm trying to dive into now is Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene.
Yes.
I've got all of his books.
You don't have that one?
No, I have all of them, but that's the one I want to dive into.
Okay, next.
Next, yeah.
I may have that one. My favorite one's obviously 48 Laws of Power. But, man, there's so many fucking good books out there and people don't read anymore.
Right.
Or they'll do audio books, but again, it's not the same long-term format going into the brain. Like Abraham Lincoln's, or one of his quotes is, my best friend's somebody who gives me a book I haven't read yet.
Gotcha.
Read. It puts this into your mind.
Well, and it also kind of grows the connections in the brain, right? So not just the understanding factor, but like you're having a mental conversation. You're not even going to realize. Yeah. And it's going to grow that elasticity, grow your brain, and make it more resilient, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot on the back end that we don't even consider or look at. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So read. Like, it's not just because you're stuck on your phone doesn't mean you don't need to read. But there's a ton of books, man. Like you said, the Goodwill thing. When I was in management, I was all about management books. Like we were when we were in fucking management. I was at Winco. You go through, even as a lead clerk, I was working with my buddy Craig, and he's constantly referring to books and stuff like that. Okay. And then there was like courses you could take and all these things. Like you can actually go through management education courses at Winco. Okay. Yeah. And
at least they were investing in you, right?
Huge. Oh no, that's what they want. They want to promote from within. Gotcha. It's like Costco. They want to educate. So it was like, forget the name of it. I was like Western New Mexico University Online or some shit. Okay. Mouthful, right? But it was also like it's like Western Association of Food Distributors or something like that, and you get like the certificate, and that's something that you, and as management, you can take up and down the Western fucking seaboard, essentially, West Coast, and it helps to. It's like another accreditation, but all kinds of things like that, like how to manage certain situations, but. Like you say, when you're consistent with the growth, you're going to find avenues. If it's time outside of there, I'm reading. So a big thing that I like to say is I love listening to motivational speeches. Like ones with the audio track in the background. And I'll do this all the time. I'll do this while I'm working on stuff. And that's where like I get that pissed off. Like I'll be fine.
Focused and dialed in.
Yeah, but like I'll go a little too deep. Like, I'm not going to fucking do anything wrong. I'm just like, I'm banging this out. But I get a lot of fucking deep work done when I do that.
But it's mindset. Yeah. It's mindset. You keep them focused on the target and nothing else matters, right? You were dialed into this.
Yep. Gotcha. And it's weird because for me, it translates to my workouts. It translates to when I'm coaching. It translates to, it's translatable for me.
But I see it though. I see why you're going where you're going.
Yeah. Well, and then you see like when I coach, I have a lot of these things I need to say too. And it's like, I always say that the cliche things like, that's what rings true at the highest levels.
I saw those balls shooting and I'm hearing them again as I'm doing the edits.
Yep. So nice. It's just one of those things where if you're not treating your body right, or whatever, you know it. Oh, it's not like you're like, oh no, I'm good. I can eat this pizza and drink this beer and I'll be fine.
Then you feel bloated
or even you can even deny all that and be like, no, I'm fine. You're not fine.
Right.
You can fucking lie to yourself all day.
Right.
And that brings me back to like the coaching thing, the Muay Thai thing. It's like it made me be honest with myself.
Okay.
There's no lying. You can't lie to yourself.
Because your body's going to tell on you.
It's going to tell on you, and your training partners aren't going to allow you to lie to yourself. It's like, all right, no, I treated myself like shit this week, but I'm going to go in and spar. And you get your ass kicked. But like, there should be that thought process of, if I didn't treat myself like shit, if I did what I was supposed to be doing, where would I have been today? Would I have been sharper, faster? Would I have this headache right now because I would be able to take my head off center? Blah, 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 blah. It happens at the lowest levels too. Or not even say lowest levels. One of my old bosses used to say something that bugs me, but it rings true, is that the world needs cashiers. And I don't necessarily like that because it can rob people of their creativity.
True. Right.
But to a degree, if you follow that down, like, there are people that are very content with doing the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum, and then raging home in their drive to get somewhere and go sit on the couch.
Right. That's heartbreaking, right? Because
get out of my fucking way. You're in my way.
Right.
Where are you fucking going? You're going to go home. Or the other side is like being oblivious to the outside world.
Right.
And just assuming that you are absolutely fine.
That's very true, right? Like, I think of some of the times, like, you would have the endurance session after class. Right. Like, I'd come for first class, I'd stay for second class, and then there'd be the endurance session. You like, come on, go, right? Or Darko and I would be some of the last folks to be there doing the planks or whatever, and he's like, Chris, go, don't give up. And it's like, we're going to stay there, we're going to do this. And even though it felt like shit, I noticed as time went along, I felt a lot better. My body wasn't yelling at me to stop as much. My body wasn't telling on me for, you know, for feeling like shit, right? Yeah. So that's a good point.
Add to your point a little bit, to what you just said, hopefully as your body stops screaming at you to stop, your spirit starts encouraging you to do more, and to go harder. And like, I can do this. And I have a ton of those moments, but I have those moments when I first began to where, like, I always talk about, like, I was Fazak. I was always the fat kid.
Right, I hear you say that, but then I look at you and like,
you know me today.
Solid, right.
But even back then, I was on the football team. But like, in here and in here, you get made. This is also back when you're down to shame each other for being fat. Like, it's a little taboo now. And it's like,
right, guys fuck with each other.
Oh, it's not just guys, but girls mattered. But anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Right. I got you.
But like, you kind of hear, like you said, you see this now, and that's the focus of the hard work. But that was where I made the decision to go all in. I didn't care how hard it was, versus being the person that gave up and being the one that eats pizza and drinks beer and it tells myself I'm fine when really I'm not. And then I had this like thing where I always wanted to do martial arts in some way and stuff, and then it just finally fell in my lap. So
how did that connection kind of happen then, right? Because I remember you were working with my friend, right? So one of my childhood friends, Kayla, right? You were over there at Winco, and then you start transitioning. And how did that happen? Like, what kind of motivated you to step into that
another
space?
Great question. So I've actually talked about it on here before, I think. But what happened was, I was working out at LA Fitness super early in the morning at like 5 a.m. with my old roommate. And these 2 to 3 fighter guys would come in. They do like this badass circuit, like 40 different exercises, 1 minute intervals each, sprints with the weighted sled, pushing the sled, minute of deadlifts, minute of pull-ups, minute of hanging, minute of monkey bar, like minute, like everything, but it's exhausting. And I remember looking down, this guy, Taki, he comes in, he's got this big old fucking black eye, like swollen. I'm like, damn, bro, why would you want to look like that? Like, but really I'm lying to myself. I'm trying to convince myself. I'm talking myself out of it. So I'm upstairs, like on the fucking elliptical, and these guys are fighters. I'm like, oh yeah, what? Come on, bro. Like, but never had actually like that dare to be great, like, don't step up. So anyway, my roommate ends up talking to him one day, and because they're all over the place, we're like trying to stay out of the way. He's like, hey man, can I work in with you? And a bunch of people try that every now and then. And my roommate's like, yeah, I'm going to work out. It was like a Wednesday or something. I'm going to work out with the fighters on Wednesday. Because they do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. And I was like, all right, well, either I'm doing it or I'm not. I'm doing my own thing and I don't have a workout partner. So right. Because we're just meathead lifting weights, bench press, squats.
Just doing the
LA Fitness normal stuff, which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But when we started doing that, so I joined in. And I made it like 3 or 4 exercises in, 3 or 4 minutes, and I was wrecked. And I thought I was in good shape. I'm like running 3-4 miles outside, you know what I mean? Like I'm doing work, but it wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. And then I started doing this with them. And the hardest, I talk about like those thresholds or like those deciding moments. I was pushing the sled and there's like, I can't remember if it was 2 or 4. And I'm looking at Crew Jones and everybody standing out the end waiting for me because it's their turn when I get down there. And I'm like, I want to quit. It's like, this fucking sucks. I want to stop. And I'm like taking a pause break at the like halfway through.
Yeah.
And I look up and they're just like, and I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to quit.
Right.
Like, it was just like, it was a moment where I knew I could quit and just kind of go back to that old life. And I just didn't really want to. I wanted to keep pushing.
It's kind of like the mindset of not accepting mediocrity, right? You want to be mediocre. It was the
first time I had that like upon me.
Right.
It was the first time like I could, and all I had to do was push to the end.
Right.
And that was it. And so like you start breaking those small barriers and your spirit, like I said, starts going like, keep going. Gotcha. Keep fucking pushing.
Gotcha.
Find more. You have more. Your body's just telling you no. Your body's trying to talk you out of what's going to hurt later.
Right.
What's going to hurt now. It's trying to keep you safe. But guess what? That keeping you safe is actually making you weaker for those hard times.
Right.
It's just the way it goes. Like imagine the time where you're like, oh shit, I got to push this car hard as fuck right now or it's going to crash into my kid. If you're fucking out of shape, you're out of shape or you can't do it. And it costs something you love, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna make a sacrifice either way.
Right.
There's that viral video that went out, and she's like a lady that's like loading the kid into or like loading up her car, and the baby's in the stroller. And then the stroller starts to roll away towards traffic. And the Good Samaritan, just leaving a job interview, takes off and saves this baby from going into traffic. And this lady like starts to wobble after she's out of shape. Her knee gives out and she falls and she tries to get up. She can't. Like watching this happen.
Right.
So if that Good Samaritan wasn't there and wasn't prepared.
Right. Then it would have got.
Right. Well, I mean, we don't want to think about what ifs.
Right. God forbid. But you know, at least like, somebody was there and
if
driven.
That right there, if you can't take somebody else's experience like that and say like, I need to do better for something, like you're really giving into like, to whatever may happen.
Right.
So, and that's not, everybody's got a life to live. I'm not saying like everybody should just go all in. Like you can't do what I do, like without putting in that amount of time.
Right.
Almost all I do is coach now. Like you have to make money. Other people have to make money.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But do what you can do.
But that's a good point though. Like and we could tie this into entrepreneurship, right? So like, I know you have a business, I think it's where you find that balance of what people can consider to be unhealthy obsession, right? Like, how bad do you want the thing?
Guilty.
And exactly, bro. Like you were talking earlier with the person rushing to get home or rushing to accept that basic job. Like, this is a problem I have sometimes even with my wife. Sorry, honey. You know, I
filter free.
I obsess over my real estate. I obsess over like the project I have going on that we've talked about. By the time I'm done with this development, I'll have 4 properties out of this development, and those properties are going to put me in a very good position. Granted, this is a 3 to 5 year vision to implement this, but still, if I'm not obsessed with this, it's never going to come. Right?
Exactly.
Just like your work ethic, if you're not obsessed with pushing that sled, you would have never got motivated, you know, behind Crew Jones and being able to step into being a crew yourself, right? So, and I think it's hard for some people, right? Because they look at you like you're kind of crazy for having that obsession.
Yeah.
But again, but they envy you when you achieve the result. And it's like, again, how bad do you want that thing?
Yeah.
You know, so
I notice that the most when people enter that space, because everybody's got, you know, that what they do normally, but when they're, all right, I'm going to take on this venture, and they're like, oh, this is why you are who you are.
Absolutely.
This is why you've put that in there, and this is why you're at the position that you're at.
Right. Well, it's like David Goggins, right? I remember a clip where this guy is like, what are you going to do when the music cuts off? You know, and you're relying on those bass drums to hit. He's like, are you going to be motivated in your mind when you don't have that music to continue pushing you? Are you obsessed with getting there? And you don't need to be crazy about it, kind of, I guess.
But that's the comparison of drive versus motivation. But yes.
Exactly. How bad do you want the thing that you want? So
bad enough to do it without your music?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. So
bad enough to do it more than it hurts, you know? And I like, so we talked about briefly, like, I don't have kids, but I was one. And so there's like a little comparison, right? But again, it's different from like a single mom or something like that. But that I have to be okay kind of thing, because those people are relying on me.
Right.
And there's moments where I feel that as a coach, but I always look at I love metaphors, and I love cliches and all that kind of shit. And the one about the airplane, like, you have to put if you're going down, you have to put the mask on yourself to make sure you can breathe before you can put one on yourself, on your child. You go to put one on your child first, but you pass out, now you're both dead.
Right, because you can't save everybody.
You can't save everybody. You have to take care of you to be able to take care of others.
Right, and how are you going to give when you have nothing left to give?
Now you're the person that needs to be taken care of.
Right.
If you're the person that is not strong enough to take care of yourself, now you're the person that other people are going to come to help take care of. Right. And it's going to show up in those people that are truly generous with their time. And like, it's kind of one of my downfalls, because I find myself being overly generous. I've been criticized at length for it before. I mean, in good and bad ways, but being like, you're sacrificing too much, you're giving away too much. We need to dial that back, whatever that is. But guilty to a fault. Like, I will provide value. Like, it's not, and you can be overly generous, but I'm definitely not a pushover.
No, definitely.
And that's where, like, if you start to get to know me, I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, I don't owe you shit.
Right.
You know, and you'll start to push that edge. I'm like, skirt.
right.
We're going to have this talk right now.
Well, again, it's like giving out of love. Like, when I hit you up, I'm like, hey, you know, I see that you're doing content, and you're like, hey, Chris, I want to get you paid. It's like, I'm showing up because I want to do it out of love, out of respect, because you gave me that same support and courtesy when I was training from you, right? And it's like, because I felt listened to, heard, supported, and proper guidance, it's like, okay, let me return some favor there. Right?
I appreciate that a lot.
Exactly, man. And it shines through in your teaching, in your coaching, and ability to connect with your students.
I fucking appreciate that a lot.
Well, right, you're given in the sense of given your honest self, right? Without going too far, right? Because I can remember some students were a little bit of a pain in the ass here and there.
You're always going to have that.
But
I don't know any. So like, that's the.
But you were authentic. You were authentic. So
well, and that's where I kind of. What I'll say is, as a coach, I'll see a lot of people like, oh, you're a coach, and this person's a teacher. And it's like, no, they're basically the same. Like, one in the, just because you have a different moniker, a different title, doesn't mean you're not a leader. It all falls into that leadership thing.
Absolutely.
And the leadership shows up before the titles ever do.
Absolutely.
And kind of on the obsession thing. Like, it's kind of like, you're not really, how you said, you're not really going to get to where you want to be to be able to have your own life influence without going in like an obsessed way to a degree.
I mean, literally, yeah, you have to. Yeah. Because if you don't, you don't really have that.
I like to say, all in on plan A. There is no plan B.
Okay.
You know, all money in on myself. Like, I bet everything I have on me.
Okay.
You know, like, I'm not out there. Like, I used to work for Winco, like I said, and when I realized the management thing,
right,
they own you. Like you put in a 12-hour day, and you just get home, fall asleep, something go wrong there, you better fucking show up. And I can do that for myself. Right. It's tough to do that for anybody else, especially after I blew out my lower back. It was like,
oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, this was like, so I was working at Winco, and I ruptured the disc in my lower back. It's L5S1. Okay. And so it's still kind of bad. Anyway, the way it ruptured was bad. But anyway, already had degenerative discs and a few other things, and going to the management field with a bad lower back, it's like reaching into the cart, the shopping carts, like that was like the worst position. My chiropractor even brought in like a shopping cart to demonstrate it to me. She's like, this is like the worst position for your back to go into, and you're doing this at least 100 times a day. Right. And so like I was not healing.
Repetitive stress injury.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And so that actually is what started the whole entrepreneurship. I was laying in bed, probably had like 40 or 50 bucks to my name.
Okay.
And was listening to like a podcast, and it was Gary Vee on Joe Rogan.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm obsessed with this yard sale flip shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, he's going off about why people that are broke don't just go fucking to Goodwill, spend 20 bucks and sell shit on eBay. So I literally did exactly that. I got up in pain, limped my ass to the fucking Goodwill.
Yeah.
Went there and found like video game shit or whatever. And this is when it was going through PayPal. So I'd sell something and be like, cha-ching. So I'd come home, list a couple things.
Yeah.
And then I'd get paid like an hour later. So I'd be like, oh, I got the same amount as when I went up there and spent it. So I go right back. Because they're putting shit out all day. Go spend a bunch more.
Okay.
And so like I'm building up my inventory, and I'm like, it's working to the point where, and I'm able to heal. To the point where I built up enough money off of that to where I wasn't working at Winco anymore after a while, and I was doing fine. And so I was like, I can scale this up. It was like 2018. And I got a shop it's out in Spanaway. It's the Garage Plus out there, if you know. But anyway, a little bit past the Walmart before the Fred Meyer on Mountain Highway. And or it's Glacier West now. But anyway, it was like right before, it was like 2 months before COVID hit. And I'm like, this is going to be my base of operations, my shop.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and my sales were like, because it's all online sales.
Because nobody could go anywhere.
Couldn't really go anywhere, and people are stuck at home, and I'm selling video games and entertainment stuff, and I'm getting like media gaylords and stuff like that. So I'm getting like CDs and DVDs and video games like 10 cents a piece.
That's fucking crazy.
And so you get something that's worth $50, and you're like,
just like the books earlier, man. Like that's the place to be.
Again, like this is where I went all in on me,
right,
versus going all in on the Winco thing, because you can do it, but you're not you. I don't have my identity. I'm Winco.
I understand.
And I had earned enough through their profit sharing program to where after 5 years I was able to get my money out and kind of use that to set up the next portion of the growth. So a lot of stuff's online is automated now because of that. I can just kind of
very nice.
Don't have to see it, don't have to touch it kind of thing, and I can really spend my time coaching.
Very nice.
But it took 7 years. People were like, oh yeah, good job. I'm like, yeah, you want to fucking come with me when I'm up and I'm going to 6 different Goodwills in a day? It's yard sale day and I'm fucking out hustling.
Right.
You know, it's midnight when I'm sitting there taking pictures, tired as fuck. Yeah.
Right.
Now the only advice I got is I smoke weed. Smoke weed, not coach.
Right.
You know, that's all.
But that's the point though, where we were talking about the highs and the lows though, right? And then the obsession and the grind, because people see your success. But going back to your point of what was it like back in 2018 and what it took to get there, right? Or the experience of dealing with your lower back, dealing with that pain, you know, dealing with the frustration of being owned by a corporation. And not to say that, you know, your coworkers and the company doesn't care about you as a person,
right?
But the freedom of choice and the ability to spend your time doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it matters so damn much.
That is what true wealth is, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Because you will never get your time back.
Never.
Ever.
And I realized that the hard way when I'm sacrificing all this time with a bad back. Guess where my mind was at? The gym.
Gotcha.
My mind was always on Muay Thai. Like it was always like, that's my destination. I got to get back there. Why the fuck am I sacrificing everything I have to not be there?
Right.
And so, but again, it takes a long time. You think you're going to be able to just flip that switch like a light switch. It's not going to happen. Unless you have a huge financial backing where you can already do whatever you want. But not a lot of people are driven that have that financial backing. I don't really know anybody at the gym that is like, comes from like a well-off financial backing that is a high-level training partner.
Right.
I don't know any.
Right.
You got to have a little bit of that drive in you, and that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that you can't be that person, but it's like that Mike Tyson thing where like, he's out robbing motherfuckers before Custom Model finds him. He was fat. That's why I say like I was fat Zach.
Okay.
Like, just the grind to get away from that. Like 6 to 8 weeks, I'm having people that are regulars at the gym.
Okay.
In that time where I started working out with the fighters, and they're like, "Man, your physique has just changed. I went from like big and bulky, lifting weights, to slim, 6-pack, fucking shredded.
That's crazy.
Like that, but hard work and dedication, man.
Right.
And then Crujon started getting me to go to Stadium Stairs on
oh my God, running the bowl over there.
Well, and I love that because people that don't really know what that is, I'm like, you ever seen that movie 10 Things I Hate About You?
Right.
Like, go run that fucker.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I used to do it in high school because I went there for
that's right,
half of 10th grade and 11th grade.
Yeah, because they make their athletes do it. Well, you're set.
Yeah.
Because some friends of mine, their kids went there, or their oldest went there, and he played soccer, and it was like, yeah, they used to have them run those.
Absolutely.
Shit's brutal.
I took regular PE, and then I had a weightlifting class. So we didn't really run it in PE, but in the weightlifting class, you were running up and down that shit.
Sounds like me. It was like anything to not fucking do regular school. I'm like, yeah, let me hit the weights, bro.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like I always talk about Gary Vee, and he was like, I never gave a fuck about school. And that's right. It didn't serve him the way that it's sort of supposed to. Now, here's where I do think is like it's an assimilation into modern society, or it's almost in reverse. It teaches you how to operate as a society and then grow out. That's why people are like, oh, my work is like high school. And it's like, well, everything's like high school. It's how you learn to be around a large group of people at all times.
Well, literally. And let's actually dive into that, right? Because you kind of have a similar situation that I have. So I made it to 11th grade. I got about halfway through, and I didn't drop out by choice, but I had a heart issue, right? So I still technically have it. I've had a ton of heart surgeries to fix that. Granted, they're not major, but I didn't graduate high school. I eventually got my GED at 19, right? I eventually made my way working for businesses, working for various things, and school is teaching you to do that.
Right.
Teaching you to fit into being a cog in the wheel that just kind of churns things, right? And within the last few years, I've gone even as far as going through college. I haven't finished college by choice. I am 5 classes away from a degree. 5 classes.
Nice.
And I'm not finishing. And I don't technically have to because I've already made it where I'm at in cybersecurity, and I make damn good money without having a degree, but because I've got experience backing me. But the point is that these school programs or these degree programs, they don't teach you to think about entrepreneurship or the hustle like you were talking about, getting out there to go get it. They teach you how to punch in for Exactly. What did I tell you yesterday? We were talking about filming this, right? We were talking about this last night.
Yep.
And I'm like, look, I work from 8 to 5. I hate giving you that answer. It literally drives me nuts. But at the same time, I have the comfort of a very big parachute, of a very good salary at a big corporation, and I can't lie.
That will build the outside
that is funneling to that, but it's like comfort and stability, or hustle and grind and making your own time, right? So, and again, education is designed to put you over here in the comfort, in punching into a 9 to 5 of working for somebody and being able to take orders versus what you truly want. And that's my motivation for not necessarily finishing. And that's my motivation for what I'm going to do with this money over here to build my real estate portfolio over there. Right. So
that was my original plan at Winco going into the management thing. It was like to use the financial aspect of it to funnel into my real estate program. And
that's right. You were talking about that earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. But now I want to kind of say something is that the comfort zone. Comfort kills. You've heard all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Here's my kind of counterpoint to that is whatever that desire that you truly have, that true happiness, you need to study that. So obviously, like real estate, Muay Thai, whatever, right? So we study our fields. If you're like, oh, I just want to be happy. I just want to be a happy person. But study happiness. What does that look like to you? What does that look like to you? Because everything's in the eye of the beholder. Me, it's doing Muay Thai. Obviously, like, what the fuck? What else would I? Nobody does this that doesn't fucking deep down love it. Right. And if somebody's out there and it's like, my happiness is to get out of work and go and relax. And so that's fine. Study people that do that. Study people that maximize their relaxation. So if you're like, I'm all about that, whatever it is. So what they say, if you, so like a Jim Rohn thing, old motivational. So he's like the Mr. Rogers of motivational speakers. Like really fucking grainy thing, fucking blah, blah, blah. Late 80s guy. Anyway, big Tony Robbins inspired Tony Robbins. You'll see him in like the front row. He talks about it all the time. But he has all this, like, if you want to be happy, study happiness. If you want to be financially well off, study financials. If you want to do Muay Thai, study Muay Thai. But whatever that field is, study.
Right, you have to put your heart into it. And really invest into it.
And I feel like people that, and it's not always their fault, because people that get kind of thrust into a financial deficit right off the bat, or they need to make money right off the bat. Let's say you had a kid at a young age, and you have to right. But you're not going to be able to just spend your time as freely as you want the way somebody who doesn't, even at the same age, right? But that does not excuse you from that financial burden.
Absolutely.
It doesn't excuse them.
Absolutely.
So I think what I'm kind of trying to say is, when it comes to actually, like, I want to say the drive, but the push or whatever. Just because you're not in somebody else's set of circumstances doesn't mean that you don't have to overcome. Some people have to work their ass off every minute, their whole life for that other company just to provide. But what are you providing on the other side? You're providing an example of a work ethic.
Absolutely.
Because that's what my mom did. My mom worked 2 jobs fucking forever, to the point where she became addicted to it.
Oh wow.
Didn't need to work 2 jobs and still is. To the, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, she doesn't now.
It's just a routine that
it became her. It became her, like, who she is. Like, she's not working. She's like, she's talking about the other day, like,
knowing what to do at the time.
Well, she has a homestead, but she doesn't.
Oh wow.
She's also like, very loosely defined. If it's not defined by somebody else in these set of parameters, you kind of are loosely defined, or you're not held to a certain thing. So you can just run free, run amok. But if you don't perform those little audits on yourself, those like time audits, like, what am I doing? And like, I talk about smoking weed all the time. I was sitting there. It was like a couple of days before 420, and I go up to the Zips up here, and I'm like, every day is fucking 420 away. I smoke. And I'm like, that's not a good thing, Zach. And then I saw a Nipsey Hussle interview, because I love Nipsey Hussle. And he's like, I didn't smoke for like 5 months. He's talking about a portion where he wasn't smoking. And they're like, he's like, I love smoking weed. I feel like I get something. He's like, but if you're going overboard on anything, he's like, that's where it becomes a liability. And that's what I'm doing. So I've dialed things back.
I'm happy to hear that, man.
Thank you. Well, good. I mean, and that's in the eye of the beholder. Like, I needed to find why that was right, because another saying I have is, the key to fixing a problem is admitting that there is one.
Absolutely.
If it's not a problem, there's nothing to fix.
Absolutely.
Can't fix what ain't broke. And if I'm smoking weed all day and that's what I want to do, and that's not a problem, I don't give a fuck what somebody else thinks. But then all of a sudden it hits to being a problem, right? Let's say I didn't have, like, I can afford it. I can afford it. But let's say I couldn't. And or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, blah blah blah. And if your priorities change or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's somebody else that's like, I told you shouldn't be smoking weed. Like, they could be right and you could take that negatively.
Right.
But if you stumble upon that in yourself and you take like, I need to make an adjustment for me.
Well, and I think it's that self-realization, right? Like, I'm happy to hear that, because you're conscious of your own needs and you're in tune with what's going on, and this is working for me or this is not. And again, going back to that honesty factor, right? So I respect the fact that you're introspecting, because not a lot of people are really willing to like look inside, you know, and what's working or what's not working for them. So it's
funny you say that, because I find myself going and coaching in scenarios where I'm like, I have to remind myself I'm not this person's coach. I'm not. So like I mentioned the zips thing. I mentioned this because like I always hurt my lower back. We talked about this.
Yeah.
And there was a girl up there that hurt her lower back. And I talked about this on the last episode.
Okay.
And I was like, for some reason, I was talking about soda. She was like, oh, I drink a bunch of soda. And I was like, what? I was like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay.
Right,
the next time I was like, sorry about that. I was like, forgot I'm not your coach. Like, but it just comes out and I have to like dial it back. Because I'm like, you know, I'm out in public. This is not, and I like going there because I'm not anybody's coach. I can just go in there and be like, what's up, everybody? To where I'm on at every other moment of the day.
Well, right, and that kind of ties into what I was saying earlier about my wife and being obsessed with real estate and business and saying, let's go really push this idea. I have to realize that somebody else is not me. Somebody else is not going to have my same motivations. Yep. And I have done this, especially if I'm drunk. Like, especially if I'm drunk. Like, I'm going hard. Like at my wedding, I was talking to everybody like, everybody needs
at the wedding, because you're being heard at your own wedding.
Well, right. We're all sitting at the table at the end of the night, right? And I'm talking about, you know, everybody can be making an extra $200,000 a year by investing or flipping or buying holds or whatever, just getting the equity about it. And I was like, you need to do this. You need to do this.
Yeah, just like, going down the line.
Exactly. And it's like that realization you're talking about where, you know, you can't force a person or a thing to be what they're not or what they're not ready for.
Yep.
They might want it, but they're not ready.
Yeah.
Right? So take them as they are. Yeah.
And not everybody's ready to be pushed.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's where you lose people. It's like, and that's why, like, I will say that, so the management thing coincides with what I do now. Not everybody at Winco wanted to fucking be there. You know what I mean? They're there because overall they need to pay their bills.
Because it's a check. Yeah.
Well, but again, that overall need needs to be fulfilled.
Right.
And this is just how they're accomplishing that. This isn't where they're being motivated.
Right.
And again, I had to dial that back. But as a coach now, I'm like, you're paying me to tell you you're doing things wrong or right or whatever. Absolutely. And I need to have my tact, but you're also sacrificing time. And energy, and think about like the pain and all that kind of shit that it's hard, like whether it's muscle fatigue or whether it's damage from being from the strikes or from rolling or whatever. You're making all these sacrifices and it bleeds into your outside life, because how can it not? You're not hurt here but you're only hurt here while you're inside these doors.
Well, no, and
work that way.
That's a good point.
Else. But the cashier don't give a fuck about that. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't give a fuck. I want to do what I want to do too, you know? And I get that, but there's that struggle between like, you have to make ends meet, but you have to be afforded a way, or you have to find a way to find your passion. And if you're not like, I don't know.
It's hard though, because like some people just don't. The statement you said earlier about your previous boss, some people have to be cashiers, right? I understand what you mean. Some people have to be call center people. Some people have to be waiters. Some people have to be, I used to be the grunt guy doing steel fab. I was the laborer carrying everything around. Some people have to be that.
So we're going warehouse after warehouse after warehouse.
Exactly. Yep. And it's not that it's a bad position. It needs to be done. It's respectable and honorable work to do those things.
Oh, yeah.
But some people just, to your point earlier, some people are happy with that and then rush to get home to sit on the couch to be comfortable. And it's like,
They
to me, it drives me.
That's their drive, is the comfort.
Exactly.
But they're so uncomfortable and miserable outside of their comfort zone that it's like, this is not a proper scale tip. This does not equal out on the scales.
But
and
then they don't
take that extra step to get themselves out of that. And it's like, what are you doing outside of here to get yourself out of here?
Right. And some people, it's unfortunate, but it's at times